Okay.
Get me a note. Get me a note.
The room on the Argentina trip.
It's still existing.
We're in.
Did you guys book?
Yeah, we're
Did you book?
February, yeah,
When
You
did
think?
February 6th through the 20th.
Yes.
13.
They were sending them.
Good.
Fourth trip.
It's okay, we
Airfare.
got, you got a vacation plans down there. All right, welcome to the September workshop meeting, first school board meeting since school began again. And we'll begin with opening exercises. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And Stacy, please call the roll.
John Cassiano,
Here.
Willard Delaker,
Here.
Joseph Fetzinger,
Present.
Todd Hernandez, Becky Height. Here. Lauren Hunsiker. Here. Todd Leiser,
Here.
Rachel Scheffler. Here. Jennifer Cenovitis. Here.
Thank you. And we will move into approval of the agenda. There are no changes from what you have on your devices.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fetzinger,
Second.
second by Mr. Leiser. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then we have an agenda. Welcome once again. I don't see anybody in the gallery this evening, so we'll move through courtesy of the floor in to the agenda. And the first item under curriculum, there are no items to discuss this evening, so we'll go right into policy. I think we have a lot there, Dr. Sir.
Yeah, it's a large list for first readings. My binder is full, so let me bring up my cheat sheet.
Have it memorized?
Yeah, I'm not that good. As far as policies, so if you can remember, I believe it was June, we brought forward to the board a proposal from PSBA to have them help us do some policy updates. Our policies were slightly outdated, circa 2008 in some of them. So you look at our 100 level and 200 level policies, those are the bulk majority of our policies. So we engage with them to have them go through all the various policy updates. We've received the 100 level policies and now we're going through that. In order for us to get through them in a timely fashion, so where they're not outdated by the time we get through them, my goal and hope is to try to at least get through at least like 10 to 12 policies a month. So I'm going to be bringing forward 10 to 12 policies as we go through all the 100s, and then the 200s, I believe they're going to have them to us probably within the next couple of weeks. So that's really a big goal of mine this year, is to try to nail out the 100 and 200 level policies. That's not just me. There are other people involved. There are obviously experts in these policies. For example, Ms. Stitzel reviewed the curriculum stuff with me, and then Mrs. Matika reviewed the non-discrimination policy. So I'm going to just go through this. I will provide the board summary sheets as we continue this process. That way you don't have to go through 10 to 12 policies and try to figure out what's changed. Do you want me to go over the summary sheet, or?
Is that the sheet that you sent with the board report?
Yes, sir.
If people need a review of that, I don't know, we all got it with last Friday.
Okay, so if you want, I could just hold on that and just ask the board, is
Just
there
highlight.
any questions that you have regarding?
Or any highlights you want to bring up that are significant?
Yeah, not particularly. Most of the policies were, pretty straightforward, some language changes. In addition to add for clarity, as well as, just bringing some of the language up to date with the latest law and regulations. The ones that are the most green really were our comprehensive plan and our mission, vision, shared statement, those were completely redone because we went through a future ready comprehensive process not too long ago. But other than that, the summary that I provided you is really the highlight. There's nothing that's very significant that I think is important for me to highlight right now.
Luann or Leanne, would you like to add anything about policy?
Just minor changes on the policies, 103,
Yeah.
103.1, and 104.
Yeah, mostly minor changes.
Okay, so any questions about these? We will have these on the agenda for a month. So we won't take any action on it next in 2 weeks for updates. Okay,
All right, thank you.
and second reading, we only have one, right?
Yep, second reading, we have one. I've received no additional comments or questions about that policy, and it will be ready for your approval in 2 weeks.
Okay. Any questions on? Then we'll move into operations. There are no policies to rescind or updates. So Art, would you like to walk us through operations?
Thank you. Attached here is a notice to proceed letter with McClure. For full transparency, we are trying to get our contract from them as well that potentially may come to the board for the actual meeting. But this is standard procedure, what we've done for our other ESCO projects for phase 1 and as well for an amendment that we made for phase 2. It's a notice for McClure to proceed, and we would be responsible for whatever amount of dollars their engineering fees would be at that particular point if we stop the project. This is something that we've done in the past with them. It has been reviewed by Jess, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Could you just go through and give us an idea when these are gonna start?
Pretty much all the projects are slated to start in the summer,
Okay, so,
just based on the timeline. The only one that potentially could go sooner would be the bus yard. The auditorium, which is a project that extends into the school year, we basically have it slated as right now is June 12th, so that Bill could do his moving up ceremony in the middle school. So June 12th will start, and January 12th is the timeline of construction for the auditorium. So we would put up that temporary construction wall in front of the auditorium doors. They would use that outside entrance, and we would be working on the auditorium throughout the school year.
next year,
Next year, that's correct.
okay.
Everything else would be a complete summertime project,
Hey, Art,
including the HVAC.
if we don't go forward with it, what would the estimate for the engineering costs be that we would owe?
I can
Do you have
get,
a
I can get
ballpark
that, I
figure?
do not.
It's in there as not.
They have a-
not to exceed 50.
Yeah, they have a not to exceed, but
Not 50,000?
is the max we would pay,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's less
The
than.
big issue, which why we're trying to solidify this, is the price increases of the equipment. And the sooner we can get on the docket, so the notice to proceed does not issue the order to the company, but it does let our time slot be locked in by McClure. So that's the biggest issue, is the equipment.
So
Just,
this-
oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna ask a clarifying question, because it says that if we decide not to move forward with the implementation of this project prior to executing the contract, is the contract related to the bid, meaning the project goes out and we don't take it to contract at that point, or is that? the
No,
con-
this one is not bid because it's an ESCO project,
Yeah.
but so the actual issuing of the contract is the amendment to our original ESCO project.
Got
The way that it works, so if that potentially gets done and through legal review before the board meeting in time, we'll bring it forward, we'll discuss it at the board meeting, and that's the actual contract to proceed.
So in the agreement, it says it will be delivered no later than October's meeting. If we have it for September, we'll bring it.
Historically, in the past, we've always had the notice to proceed about a month before the actual contract. But because of this, inflation with the cost of goods, we're trying to get it in time sooner.
So you believe this notice to proceed will help us a little bit with all these supply chain issues we're hearing about?
It secures our time slot within the manufacturing's category. So it does lock us in on the price and the actual time
And
slot.
the price, good.
It does not obligate us to necessarily pay for it, except that $50,000.
Okay. So we will be taking action on this in 2 weeks. then.
Yeah, one of two things will happen. If we don't have the contract, you'll take action on the notice to proceed. If we have the contract, we'll bring the full contract back, which has been what we did with McClure. I looked it up 2015 when we did the ESCO project. That was a notice to proceed and then a contract.
Any questions? All right. Process.
This is something we've been doing year after year here. It treats our heating and cooling loops for any contaminants, corrosions, or dissimilar metals from tearing the piping system apart. So they come in and quarterly check the systems and treat them accordingly.
Question. Okay, thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Moving into district finances. If you, Christie, would like to take us through those items, please.
So you have the first three. I should do the first one unless Andrea is on. Okay, she's on.
She is, but Stacy, can you let her in? As a parent?
I can start it and then pass it off to Andrea, or is she?
Yeah, she's on.
I'm in.
How
Did
is
you
she?
already, it cut out there for a minute. Jen, did you already say what it was?
I waited till you hopped over, so it's all yours.
Okay, so this is an agreement for Bayonne Healthcare Services to provide nursing services for us. We also have a contract with Maxim, but they're unable to provide us with day-to-day coverage for our nursing needs. So this is just an additional contract to sort of open the doors for other professionals to come in and provide us some nursing services when our nurses are out. It was legally reviewed and both parties have agreed.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're satisfied with this and we should take action on it in 2 weeks. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. And open campus initiative.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'll take the open campus and cooperative agreement. This is similar to last year. We actually approved this last year as well. It's in agreement with Warren County School District in the state of Pennsylvania, who we contract with for digital academy services for our digital students in our district. In an effort to be transparent, they have actually provided this to us so that we can see who we partner with, who they also partner with besides us. And they asked that this gets approved by the board in 2 weeks.
Okay, any questions?
So it's signed by all of them, everyone.
Yes, it will be.
All right. Okay, and let's move into dual enrollment with L-Tri-C.
I will handle that one. This is an agreement you previously approved. L-Tri-C came to us after your approval and asked all districts to do an addendum that essentially won't require an annual approval of this, but it will allow either district or L-Tri-C to get out of the agreement if they so wish. So I did inquire and said, we already approved it. You want us to approve the revised one? And they said yes. So this is actually an agreement you already approved with that one change that they are asking all districts to approve. So I'll certainly take any questions. There's no cost to us for it, but it is a change in contract language.
Okay.
And there's really no end date to this one.
That was the purpose.
That's the
So they
purpose.
wanted to not have to, I think, bring it any year, but allow either district the ability within, I think it's 60 days to get out of it. So that it wouldn't have to be an annual, it would be a constantly renewal agreement. I think that's the change, actually.
Any questions about dual enrollment?
Just real quick, I just noticed as I was scrolling through the last one with the cooperative agreement, our open campus.
Yep.
The address for Northwestern is,
There's
oh, there's two Northwestern.
So if you
There are.
there's Northwestern Lehigh and then there's Northwestern.
I see
Ah,
that.
yes.
Sometimes we get their stuff, or their payments.
Who was one?
They actually deal with both of the
Oh, this
districts.
is northwest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how crazy is that?
Doesn't
It's
say
up in
here.
Pittsburgh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, Pittsburgh.
we often run
Probably
into like, we got an audit something for them once and we sometimes get financial, because somebody just Googles like.
How they
Northwestern.
doing?
I mean, it's usually, or something gets messed up financially, where we get a payment on their behalf or something, is usually what happens, because somebody Googles Northwestern and then mails it to us. We did get an audit finding or something once for them, so it happens often. I saw the same thing you saw though.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Anybody have any questions about the LTIC one? I thought that's.
Say you're reading the agenda, the contracts. Make Phil happy.
All right, he pointed it out to me. No,
All right, any other questions about the agreements with Open Campus, LFIC? Okay, then we'll move into last item under, or last agreement is the server solved equipment maintenance.
Yes, this is for Weisenberg Elementary. Their laminator needs some work to be done to it. And the actual service agreement for a year is cheaper than the guy coming out and fixing it. So I just ask if I can sign this tonight and we retroactively approve it in 2 weeks so that they can come out and service the laminator for the building so it can get up and running.
Any objection to that? Okay, thank you. Good move.
Don't realizing that it costs less.
That was Gene and Jill. They got 2 quotes and came back that it was cheaper to do the
That's, we
service
own that
contract.
equipment or is that a lease? Do we own that?
We own that equipment and it's not at the point where Jill wants to replace it.
Yeah.
It's still in good condition.
Okay, go ahead. Got to go ahead.
Thank you.
And next 2 items about reports, maybe you can
Correct.
just run through these items with us.
Sure. For the monthly recap, for the month of July, real estate collections were down 2%, but I'm happy to report, today I did the August reports. And from 2021 to this year, July and August, collections are up 8%. So we've bounced back from July to this month.
8% from last year? or
From last year, yeah, for
Wow.
July and August collections. Yeah, tax collectors were a little worried in July that collections were down, but they really bounced back in August. Well, August is the end of discount, so
I made sure I got my tax check in before August, so I got the
August
discount.
31st.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Good. Okay,
As far as expenses for the month of July, they're relatively the same as every other year. We do have a debt service transfer payment. The 59,000, that was from the $13 million borrowing, the fees for Kings Pride and PFM. And then our options, can you pull them up, Stacy?
this would go into the next item. the
Correct.
Options, yeah, we asked you to look at these reports and if there's anything unnecessary that the
Correct.
board doesn't really look at, we just drop it
Right.
off the agenda.
So I did 3 different options with, you already get the condensed board summary report, and then we do a graph condensing it all down. But with these new 3 options, I've added the expenditures and the revenues, so we can see the bottom line on the last page. So each option, this breaks it down by function and major object.
This is option 1.
So this is 9 pages that you do anyway.
This is 9 pages that comes out of our FIS system
Okay.
that no one has to recreate
Okay,
a graph for.
I think that was the intention.
Correct.
So what are the difference between the 2? The last one is kind of really condensed.
Correct. It just, it's not as much detail.
The same.
So it's just all the same information. It's just each option is less detailed. Same information, it's just more condensed. So this one is your 1,000s, 2,000s, 3,000 functions.
Or later.
Where the option 1 was major function, like the 1100s, 1200s, 1300s. This is just condensing all the 1000s,
Option one's too much.
2000s. And then the third option is just no object breakdown. It's just your 1000s, 2000s, as you can see, and then your revenues.
So it gives you a quick snapshot
Quick
year to
snapshot.
date, but I don't know if you use any, or would in any case, use any of the other codes to look at it.
There's
That's,
a detail under the
Right.
accounts.
What is the one, the only thing I'm not sure about is under description. 100, 200, 300, 500, 600, 900. They're not labeled.
Correct. The
So-
100, 200, that is your objects. So your 100s are your salaries,
You need a cheat
200 are your
Then it'd be a
benefits.
cheat
Yeah, it
sheet.
doesn't break, it doesn't show that.
no different than it doesn't show you what the 1000s, 2000s is
Correct.
either. We'd have to give you a cheat, whichever one you wanted. We could give you a shortened cheat sheet for what those codes stand for.
Mhm.
All right, so the last one is really condensed. It doesn't show any of the objects.
Mhm.
The difference between the first two are, is there any difference?
There is. So it's more of a breakdown on the first one of your 1000s.
Any preferences from anybody?
If you need a cheat sheet, but- or a way to, you can't get the description. field
Yeah, let me
populated.
look with the new system, the descriptions, I would think should be populated there. Maybe it's just something we missed when opening up the accounts, that's not, the description's in the wrong field.
Or it's like a different description.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not pulling it. So I can look into that, and if I can get the descriptions, which option, which is like,
So what is that replacing on the previous set of reports?
so that would replace your revenue reports, your condensed board summary, because that's what this is, and your expenditure report.
Okay, so you're gonna cut down 3 of those to just 1.
Correct.
Okay.
There's 2 revenue
Automatic.
reports.
Oh, okay.
And there's a expenditure report and condensed summary report. So those 3 would be cut out and it would just be your condensed
Just be-
board summary.
Okay.
We would still keep the monthly recap if you'd like it.
But that is generated by you.
By me, yes, going back and
That was the
looking.
one we referenced, I think it was Mr. Morrison, who
Correct.
wrote the monthly recap, but that monthly
Yes.
recap is manually generated by Christine.
Correct. The treasurer report, we do that anyway. It's just putting it into one spreadsheet. The EIT is just pulling from the revenue report what our EIT collection was. And student activity treasurer's reports are done monthly anyway. It's not something that we're going out of our way to generate.
It kind of seems like annual reports are not like a good use of time. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
you should
Like-
still do a monthly recap. though.
Okay,
Because I feel like that's partly for your, looking back and having a board record of like, here's a summary of what you're seeing in the data, right?
I agree.
And then I think like things like the EIT, I don't feel like we need that
No.
every month.
that's
I
fine.
don't know, it feels like that's like an annual summary, how are we trending?
Is the EIT
Quarter.
in the budget book, do you know? Is the EIT in
EIT
the
is
budget?
broken out in the budget book, yes.
So that might, if you don't want it monthly, it's in the budget book when you approve your budget, so we do that separate budget book that
Right.
has all of the annual charts in it. You could see it in there if you don't want it monthly, the EIT. The other thing, just cautionary, I know we're talking about reports, we always have approved the student activities, just know you don't have a lot of, I wanna say, but they're driven by student activities, so those
Right.
student activity reports for you to look at, but there's not.
Right.
You can't deny something on student activity expenditure, they're driven by the student activity groups, wishes and board votes kind of.
Correct, that's why we don't take the check, bring the checks to you for approval.
The first one you have there, the first option does label all the sub-accounts under 1,000, 2,000, the 100, 1,200. Those are labeled, which gives us some information.
Some of them are, yeah, so there's definitely somewhere in the program where
Yeah.
it's in one field and not in the other field.
I know,
We can fix that.
I think that if it's no extra effort, that
No.
report would be my choice.
Option 1.
Option 1,
What do you, and try to get the labels?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
cheat sheet on the
Yeah.
side if the labels won't go in?
Yeah.
Some of them, Bill's right, some of them are
Yeah,
in,
some of them are in,
like,
so I think
that's-
it's just something that when we moved from Foxborough to FIS, it must be in a different field that
Yeah.
didn't convert over,
It's like the
which is no
twenty-five
big
hundred's
deal.
not there, some of them are there, some
Yeah.
of them are not.
Right.
So you do want to keep the monthly recap. This will replace your revenue report, your expenditure report. And one more, Christie, is that condensed board summary, which is what it is. Those three in one report.
And EIT.
And
If we're
remove
gonna
EIT, that we'll put it in the budget book.
Because I think
Is
our,
that what you want?
you know, the way I would approach it is like your monthly recap is like the summary. I will read that, you know, we would read that, right?
Of what we
And then
spent
go
that
into the
month.
detail, right? It's sort of a nice.
Okay, let's try that
Is
then.
that what you want?
Sure, we can always go back to. And if it's if you have any other suggestions about how to make it easier for your staff, let us know.
Do you have anything else for that, or you're good?
Nope, I'm good with that. The only other thing that's out there is about the fuel bid, participating in CSIE's fuel bid again for the upcoming school year. I have to give them a yes or no if we're going to participate in February. Typically, the information comes out in January for total participation, where they're gonna ask how many gallons we wanna commit to. And we're, right,
Yeah, your commitment is now, the gallons are in January, and then it usually comes
February.
in March.
April.
April?
End of April is the bid opening. They have the bid opening one day, then the following day, they will award the bid. And then that's when we always have to come back and retroactively approve it, because we have 10 hours or less to, if we want firm, to lock into that firm price.
So that's the way we've always been doing it.
Yeah.
We've been
Correct.
Pretty successful with that.
Yeah, we went on our own a few years, which were not as successful, I would tell you,
Correct.
when we did it on our own. Part of that is location based, and part of that is we just don't have enough gallons, I don't think, to pull a popular price.
Yeah.
Where we're located and not enough gallons, I don't know,
And-
you are very involved on.
Yeah, and the other additional decision point will be if we put in the fuel tank for gasoline, that would get included into that bid.
Correct, as a bid, yeah.
If we decide to move forward, so it's gonna be sort of similar timing to add our gasoline gallons.
All right, so then, what do you need from us for the fuel bid? Just a-
I just need the verbal okay to send in and say firm
We're
to
not gonna look
participate.
at this until we. So I say, yeah. Go
Because
ahead.
until you count gallons, you essentially could tell them no gallons when it comes up in January.
Correct, so they want an idea right now, and then in January, they're gonna send it out again and say, are you sure you wanna participate? And then in February, they'll ask us for how many gallons we want for the bid, and
Okay. Any questions, comments? Look at old business, any old business to bring up? New business, PSB officers, PSBA officers.
I think this will be relatively easy, because it appeared, when I looked at it, that everyone was running unopposed.
That's what I just saw.
It's not always that way, but when I looked through it, I went, okay, this should be relatively easy, unless you don't like someone on the, docket, or you don't want to vote for them, you can not cast a vote for something. But if you don't have any issues, essentially what I would bring back for you is to cast a vote for the following people. They give you the information for all the positions up for election. Each one of those has a bio of sorts for each of those folks that you can take a look through. It does look like everyone, including the regional reps, were running unopposed. So there are the right number of people for the right number of positions. So unless the board directs us otherwise, what we will bring back is for you to cast a vote. I think John might have to do it for us. But we can prep it for him, to cast after the board meeting if you don't have any other desires.
Joel might be interested.
In running for something, I don't know that he can run for something now.
Are these paid positions? I should know that.
I don't believe so, and I only know that because I believe Daryl served in one at one point, if you recall correctly. I don't
That
believe
might
they
be-
are
might be
paid
right.
positions.
Okay.
We can ask that to
I'm just
get a
curious.
a
We should
firm
probably
answer.
know that for.
I don't believe so, but you know, The position that Roberta Marcus is in, those two trustees, I don't know if they're paid positions,
If you could just find out of any of these,
are paid.
yeah, just, because it's not published anymore. You'd think that would have to be open.
Yeah, we'll find out before I misspeak. I don't,
We ask questions.
It's not, I looked, that's why I thought that would be a question somebody would ask.
yeah, I don't know if the trustees are. That's the part I don't know, because Kathy Swope, some of you know, or have met at PSBA things, and obviously you know Roberta. I don't know if the trustees are. So Stacy, can we ask whoever this came from and or get me their information on us?
So you're gonna bring us a ballot next week.
Yeah, to cast a ballot for the following individuals.
Okay.
That's, no one has any issues with anyone on there, and we want to cast a ballot for who's on there.
Okay. That was easy. Communications. Lisa, you have communications? Okay. Then, back to courtesy of floor. No one here, and, if we could, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
7:30.
That's a record.
Yeah, it must be.
Second.
Mr. Fatskir, Mr. Weiser.